He added up all of the information at the time to about a total of 87 full-size pages. The world builders and writers here, yeah, like I said, they didn't try to recreate anything, which I think is important. An important note with this series, though, is I'm not focusing on novels that are written about the games or within the games in terms of, like, say they're writing a book that's focusing on two characters. I'm not focusing on that. We're focusing on the actual in game items that are books or readables and trying to see how they help bring life and sometimes entertain us as gamers. Well, gamers. My personal favorite type of in-game little interactable to read tends to be randomly placed diaries, like little musings of a note, or like little radios in some games. I think Borderlands did this, a little tape recording sometimes or something similar, where you'd click it and then one of the NPCs would be talking to you and you'd hear information that was there before. This can help bring a world to life really well, in my opinion, its inhabitants, and can just add an extra level of life. For this video, we're going to focus on and briefly acknowledge a variety of readable books, but we're going to try to keep it kind of compact, and I'm going to be reading the context of the little mini books that they have in game and giving context to it a little bit and then moving on. I just want to give like a bit of an information dose of like what's within Azeroth. So to start, there's a book in the game called Beyond the Dark Portal. If I'm right, there might be a real book they made with the same title, but here in the in-game book, it's a grim retelling of the events of the orc invasion in the Azeroth through a giant imposing portal that was powered by the mass forced sacrifice of innocent souls. Pretty dark. Pretty dark. Only a few months after Nevergard's completion, the energies of the Dark Portal coalesced and opened up a new gateway to Draenor. The remaining Orc clans, under the leadership of the Elder Shaman, Ner'zhul, charged forth in the Azeroth once again. Under the leadership of the Elder Shaman, Ner'zhul, they were intent on stealing a number of magical artifacts that would increase his power. The Orcs planned to open up new portals in Draenor that would allow them to escape their doomed red world forever. Ooh. Convinced that Ner'zhul was planning a new offensive against the Alliance, King Tyrannus of Lordaeron sent his armies into Draenor to end the Orcish threat once and for all. Led by Khadgar and General Turalyon, the Alliance forces clashed with the Orcs across the burning landscape. Even with the aid of the Elven Ranger, Illyria, the Dwarf Kurdran, and the veteran soldier Danath, Khadgar is unable to prevent Ner'zhul from opening his portals to other worlds. His tremendous magical storms, caused by the portal's converging energies, began to tear the ravaged world apart at its own very seams. Ner'zhul, followed only by his most trusted servants, managed to escape through one of the portals as Khadgar fought desperately to return his comrades to Azeroth. Realizing that they'd be trapped in the dying world, Khadgar and his companions selflessly decided to destroy the Dark Portal so that Azeroth would not be harmed by Draenor's violent destruction. By all accounts, the heroes were successful in destroying the portals and saving Azeroth, but whether or not they escaped the death throes of Draenor remains to be seen. Wow. That's a lot. So this here is a booking game you can actually find within a dungeon. It's, if I remember right, the Scarlet Library, I want to say, on one of the actual bookshelves in the dungeon, because it's its namesake, a library. And I think it's a cool little Easter egg, like, not Easter egg, but it's a cool bit of information if you actually choose to take time to stop in a dungeon, which is group content, and try to read it, or come back for it and read it. Which I think is just a cool detail, because most people just zoom right by, but my little prying sheep eyes, when I saw it, wouldn't let it get away. There's no escape once I find information. Our next book is Ironforge, The Awakening of Dwarfs. This is a deep dive into the dwarfs, some of their otherworldly origins, and their kingdom. In the ancient times, after the Titans departed Azeroth, their children, known as the Earthen, continued to shape and guard the deep recesses of the world. The Earthen were largely unconcerned with the affairs of the surface-dwelling races, and longed only to plumb the dark depths of the earth. When the world was sundered by the Well of Eternity's implosion, the Earthen were deeply affected, reeling with the pain of the earth itself. The Earthen lost much of their identity and sealed themselves within the stone chambers where they were first created, Uldaman, Uldum, and Uldur. Those were the names of the ancient Titan cities where the Earthen first took shape and form. Buried deep beneath the world, the Earthen rested in peace for nearly 8,000 years. Though it is unclear what awakened them, the Earthen sealed within Woodman eventually rose from their self-imposed slumber. These Earthen found that they had changed significantly during their hibernation. Their rocky hides had softened and become smooth skin, and their powers over stone and earth had waned. They had become mortal creatures. Calling themselves dwarfs, the last of the Earthen left the halls of Uldaman and ventured out into the waking world. Still lulled by the safety and wonders of the deep places, they founded a vast kingdom under the highest mountain in the land. They named their land Kaz-Mordan, or Mountain of Kaz, in honor of the Titan shaper Khaz'goroth. Constructing an altar for their Titan father, the dwarfs created a mighty forge within the heart of the mountain. No, I think this is a nod towards Tolkien's dwarfs. If I remember right, there's like a pretty popular thing in games to have dwarfs be crafters or miners, and it's kind of, I think, to my knowledge, sprinkled down from that. It's probably a little more deep rooted, but that's where I saw a lot of the origin for this part of the dwarfs coming from, in terms of them being crafters and having this mighty forge in a mountain city. They created their mighty forge within the heart of the mountain. Thus, the city that grew around the forge would be called Ironforge ever after. The dwarfs by nature, fascinated with shaping gems and stones, set out to mine the surrounding mountains for riches and precious minerals. Content with their labor under the world, the dwarfs remained isolated from the affairs of their surface-dwelling neighbors. And these two were just awesome looks at how they expand, show, and give players extra information that was readily available to them if they, say, played like the RTSs, or even some of it wasn't. Like, a lot of WoW storytelling in original WoW is through quest text, and interactables like this, which I think is awesome when a game does that. Now we're going to take a step into part 2, the last half of our adventure today, lighthearted books. We can take a look at some tongue-in-cheek, funny, relaxed, and usually Easter egg-oriented literature you can read and explore within the world of Azeroth. Our first one is a steamy romance novel. Spicy. It is a tongue-in-cheek, lighthearted book you can find in game. There's many versions of it. If I'm right, there's about at least 10 in the base game, if I remember correctly. And we'll start as follows. As Nani glided up, the grizzled warrior gave her a hard stare. I suppose you're here to collect the reward for killing those Murlocs? Her eyes wandered down to the glowing broadsword at his side. That depends on what the reward is, Marcus. She twirled her hair playfully, pretending not to notice how he shifted uncomfortably in her presence. I may not want it. Marcus stepped towards her, bristling with a mixture of fear and anger. The reward is not negotiable. He paused for a moment while gathering his nerve and pressed himself against her diminutive form. Their lips met hotly, melting her frost armor spell in a torrent of sweltering vapor. So, is there another step to his quest? She teased, her eyes glittering with excitement. This goes on for several hundred more pages without advancing the plot. And that's a steamy romance novel, one of them, as an example. They've been done all the way up till today, which I think is funny, that they've continued to do them, and the strange characters within it. Marcus, he's done a variety of romantic encounters of various species and people and genders within Azeroth, which is just kind of funny. He's just a bit of a horn dog who's interacted with like every race. Next, we have Studies in Spirit Speaking. This book is a light-hearted Easter egg nod from a developer towards his probably closest to his heart MMO, Ultima Online, from the 90s. And it was a grandfather in the MMO genre that helped define and shape it. And it reads as follows for like 50 times in a row. Ooh. The interesting part about this, because I'm not going to read it all, is The seemingly confusing, purposeless text of ghost noises comes within the book is actually translatable in the binary. For the purpose of the binary translation, big O's are a 1 and little O's are a 0. It ends up translating to as follows: Ultima Online, the game he's referencing; Napa Valley, the server he must have played on; Knights of Chaos, his previous guild, which is like a group you're in with other players. It's like a little family. A lot of the time in these games, I've noticed over the years playing MMOs most of my life, these types of funny, like tongue-in-cheek or nods towards other games or players' old experiences, well, developers' old experiences as players, are left throughout, and I think it's awesome to see what the developers like hold dear and close. And lastly, we have one more book to go into for our peek and foray into the bookshelves of Azeroth. It is a cookbook made by ogres. Or trolls, apparently. It reads as follows: An exotic cookbook. Step 1. Get 1 or 8 man. Step 2. Hit man hard. Step 3. Hit man more. Step 4. Put man in fire. Step 5. Eat man. Yeah, that's a hit, right? But with this, we'll be wrapping up the first episode of Scripted Sagas. And as always, I'm your lovable sheep librarian, Autumn Fuchsia, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye-bye.